My ex tried to force a sale, not a conversation, not a compromise, not even a warning. He tried to force it the way people force a door, with pressure, with paperwork, with the confidence of a man who thinks the law is a crowbar. And the first time I realized what he was doing, I was standing in my kitchen, barefoot, rinsing a coffee mug, when my phone buzzed and the screen lit up with a county court notification I hadn't signed up for. Petition for partition by sale. Those words sat there like a loaded weapon on a clean white screen. Partition. Sale. As if the home I'd built wasn't a home at all. Just a shared asset to be liquidated, divided, and forgotten. My hands went cold so fast I didn't feel the ceramic mug slip. I only heard it crack against the sink. I didn't call him right away. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of hearing my voice shake. Instead, I walked to the front window, pulled the curtain back a few inches, and stared at my own driveway like it belonged to someone else. The maple tree we planted the year our daughter was born. The porch swing I repainted last summer. The soft dent in the grass where the delivery guy always stepped. Normal, safe, real. And now, apparently, for sale. Grant Whitmore always loved the idea of winning, even when there wasn't a game, even when the prize was something he never earned. We'd been divorced for 8 months. 8 months of him pretending he was reasonable, the kind of man who uses calm words while he sharpens knives behind his back. In mediation, he smiled. In front of the judge, he nodded like a saint. In public, he told everyone he just wanted what was fair. But fairness, to Grant, was whatever left me smaller. The settlement had been simple on paper. I kept the house. He kept his retirement account. We split the savings. And because our daughter Lily was still in middle school, there was an occupancy provision tucked into the decree, a line my attorney had insisted on, even when Grant's attorney rolled his eyes. Exclusive use and possession of the marital residence shall remain with Claire Bennett until the minor child reaches the age of 18 or graduates high school, whichever occurs later. It was supposed to be peace, a fence, a pause button on chaos, but Grant saw that line and didn't think child stability. He thought temporary. He thought, I'll find a way around it. And now, the way around it was a petition filed in county court, demanding a forced sale on the basis that he still held an ownership interest. Because the deed was the trap we'd both been too exhausted to fight over during the divorce. The house had been purchased while we were married, in both our names, even though my income covered the mortgage and his money went into a business he swore would pay us back tenfold. He'd insisted on joint title back then, in that charming way he had, the way he framed control as romance. Babe, we're a team, he'd said, brushing hair off my cheek as if that made it true. Your name, my name, everything together. I'd believed him. Or maybe I'd just wanted to believe him, because believing him was easier than arguing. And now, 8 months after the divorce, he wanted to use that joint title like a lever. I read the petition again, then I scrolled, and my stomach dropped deeper. He wasn't just requesting a sale. He was requesting an expedited sale. He'd attached a hardship declaration, claiming he was behind on significant obligations, claiming he needed liquidity, claiming I was unreasonably withholding cooperation, as if I had stolen something from him, as if I was hoarding the house like a dragon while he suffered. The audacity would have been funny if it wasn't real. I sat at my kitchen table and stared at the docket number. My attorney, Monica Reyes, answered on the second ring. Claire, she said, voice instantly sharp. Tell me you didn't just forward me a petition that says partition by sale. I did, I whispered. My throat felt packed with cotton. Can he do that? There's a decree. There's the occupancy thing. He can file, Monica said. People file nonsense every day. The question is, what did he attach, and what's he claiming as the legal basis? I don't know, I said. Something about owning an interest in hardship and did he disclose to the divorce court that he planned to do this? Monica cut in. No, of course he didn't, she said, with a tired laugh that didn't sound amused. Okay, here's what we do. We respond. We move to dismiss. We point the judge back to the decree, and we request sanctions if he's abusing process. Sanctions, I repeated, like the word was a life raft. Claire, she said, softer, I need you to hear me. This isn't about him needing money. This is him trying to destabilize you. If he can scare you, if he can make you think you're about to lose the house, he can negotiate you into giving up something else. Like custody, like child support, like the small slice of dignity I'd clawed back. My hands trembled under the table, but my voice came out steady. Okay, I said. We fight it. Good, Monica replied. Now, I need you to send me every document you have. Deed, mortgage statements, settlement, everything. And also, I want to see the last 6 months of his texts. My texts? Yes, she said, because men like Grant always say too much when they think they're in control. Grant texted that night, like he could smell that I'd seen it. He didn't say hello. He didn't ask how Lily was. He didn't mention the petition. He just wrote, "We need to talk about the house. This can get ugly if you make it ugly." That was Grant, always making the threat sound like a favor. I didn't respond. I went upstairs, sat on Lily's bed while she did homework, and tried to look normal while my insides churned. Lily was 13, all elbows and ponytail and fierce little opinions. She was at that age where she pretended she didn't need me. But her eyes still tracked my face when she thought I wasn't looking. You okay? She asked. Pencil paused. Just tired, I said. Work stuff. She studied me for a second too long. Then she went back to her math, but her knee bounced under the desk. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan, listening to the house settle the way houses do. Creak, sigh, breathe. And I thought about how quickly safe turns into temporary when someone decides your stability is negotiable. The next week became a blur of legal language and late-night paperwork. Monica filed a response, a motion to dismiss, and a request for attorney's fees. Grant responded with a declaration so dramatic, it read like a soap opera. He claimed the house was an ongoing burden. He claimed I was refusing to refinance to remove him from liability. He claimed I was benefiting unfairly from appreciation while he suffered financial harm. He even claimed I was alienating Lily, because of course he did. He couldn't just try to take the house. He had to paint himself as the victim, because victims get sympathy, and sympathy can move a judge's patience. The hearing was scheduled 3 weeks out. 3 weeks of waiting, 3 weeks of trying to keep Lily's routines normal, 3 weeks of waking up at 3 a.m. with my heart racing, imagining a for sale sign in my yard like a warning label. And in those 3 weeks, Grant started escalating in ways that weren't written in court documents. It started with helpful calls. He called me during lunch and spoke in that smooth, practiced tone he used with clients back when he still had his real estate license. "Claire," he said, like we were old friends. I talked to a broker. The market's hot. You'd do great if you stopped being stubborn. I'm not selling, I said, standing in my office hallway so my coworkers wouldn't hear my voice shake. You can't stop it, he replied. Partition is partition. Judges order sales all the time. There's a decree, I said. And decrees get modified, he said lightly, especially when someone's being unreasonable. Then he hung up, like he'd just left a polite voicemail. 2 days later, he accidentally emailed Lily's school counselor, copying me, asking for Lily's attendance records for court. Like my daughter was a document he could subpoena for leverage. The counselor called me, alarmed. I apologized until my voice went raw, and promised them it was being handled. Grant didn't care. Then he showed up. Not to the house, not directly. He showed up at Lily's soccer game, standing by the fence with his hands in his pockets, smiling at other parents, laughing too loudly. He waited until I stepped away to grab water. Then he approached Lily. I watched from across the field as Lily stiffened. I watched her shoulders pull up, like she was bracing for rain. I walked over fast, heart pounding, and Grant turned to me like he'd been waiting for the moment. Hey, he said, too cheerful. Just saying hi to my kid. She's in the middle of a game, I snapped. He shrugged. I won't have to come to games much longer if you keep this up. My blood ran cold. What did you say? He leaned closer, voice low enough that only I could hear. When the house sells, you'll have to move, he murmured. And when you move, Lily can finally have a normal home. With me. He stepped back, smiled at Lily, then walked away like he hadn't just tried to yank the ground out from under us. That night Lily asked me quietly, Is Dad making you sell the house? I froze, because I hadn't told her. I thought I'd hidden it, but kids feel things the way dogs smell storms. No, I lied at first. Then Lily's eyes glistened, and the lie tasted like ash. I heard him, she whispered. He said you won't have it much longer. I sat down beside her on the couch, pulled her into my arms, and stared at the wall. I'm fighting it, I said. Can he really do that? She asked, voice small. I don't know, I admitted. But I'm not letting him take our home. Lily nodded, but she didn't look convinced. She looked scared. And that fear lit something in me that I hadn't felt in months. Not panic, not helplessness, anger, clean and sharp. Because Grant wasn't just attacking me anymore, he was attacking my daughter's sense of safety. Monica asked to meet in person 2 days before the hearing. Her office smelled like coffee and toner, the kind of place where battles happen in silence. She spread documents across the table. Okay, she said, tapping the decree. We argue preclusion. The divorce court already adjudicated the house issue, exclusive use and possession. His remedy, if he has any, would have been addressed there. And the deed? I asked. Monica's lips pressed together. The deed is the opening he's using, she said. But it doesn't automatically override the decree. And we have something else. She slid a paper toward me. It was a loan statement, not mine, not the primary mortgage. A different loan, with my house listed as collateral. My breath caught. What is that? Monica's eyes hardened. That, she said, is a second lien. I blinked. We don't have a second lien. Monica tapped the statement again. According to this lender, you do. Or, you did. It looks like it was opened as a home equity line of credit 2 years ago. My stomach turned to water. 2 years ago, when Grant was launching his consulting business. 2 years ago, when he told me he was borrowing from an investor. 2 years ago, when he'd asked me to sign some bank forms while I was cooking dinner and Lily was asking me to help with homework. I remembered the papers. I remembered flipping through pages, seeing our address, seeing numbers, hearing him say, "It's just standard. It's nothing. It's for the business account." I remembered signing because I trusted him, or because I didn't have the energy to fight. "Oh my God," I whispered. Monica leaned in. "Claire," she said, "this HELOC, it's in both your names, and there's a balance, a large one." "How large?" My voice barely worked. Monica exhaled. 184,000. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the table. "No," I rasped. "That can't be real." "It's real," Monica said, "and it explains something." "What?" "Why he's pushing for a sale," she replied. "Because if the house sells, liens get paid out of the proceeds." My mouth went dry. "He wants the sale to wipe his debt with my equity." And, Monica added, eyes narrowing, possibly to hide where the money went. I stared at the statement, feeling sick. "Can he do that?" I asked. "He can try," Monica said, "but now we have a different angle. Because if he took out a HELOC during the marriage and failed to disclose it fully in divorce, and now he's using partition to force a sale." She paused. "Claire," she said, "that starts to look like fraud." The word hung in the air like a bell. Fraud. Not just betrayal. Not just cruelty. Something punishable. Something judges don't like. Monica leaned back and looked at me carefully. "I need you to think," she said. "Did you actually sign for this line of credit? Or did he sign for you?" My mind raced. I could see the kitchen table, the papers, Grant's hand covering the signature block like he didn't want me reading too closely. I could see my own pen, the quick scribble, the way he'd scooped the papers up immediately. I don't know," I admitted. "I think I did, but I didn't understand." Monica nodded once, like she already suspected that answer. "Okay," she said. "Then we're going to subpoena the closing package. Wet signatures, notary logs, everything. Because if there's any irregularity, then his petition becomes a lot more dangerous for him than it is for you." My heart pounded. So, the HELOC could save me? "It could," Monica said. "Not because the debt is good news. It's not. But because it exposes motive. And judges pay attention to motive when someone is weaponizing the court." The hearing arrived on a Thursday morning. Bright and cold. The kind of day that makes everything look sharper than it is. Grant stood outside the courtroom in a gray suit, smiling like he was about to close a deal. When he saw me, he spread his hands. "Claire," he said, like he was disappointed in me. "Still doing this?" I didn't answer. Monica walked beside me, heels clicking, posture straight like a blade. Grant's lawyer, some younger guy with shiny hair and a too-wide tie, nodded at Monica like they were colleagues at a conference. "Counsel," he said. Monica didn't smile. Inside, the judge was a woman with silver hair and tired eyes. The kind of tired that comes from seeing the same tricks in different suits. Grant took the stand first. He spoke smoothly about financial hardship. He said he couldn't qualify for housing because his name was still tied to the mortgage. He claimed he was paying for a house he didn't live in. He claimed I was refusing to refinance, refusing to list, refusing to cooperate. He looked the judge in the eye and said, "I'm just trying to move on, Your Honor." He almost sounded sincere. Almost. Then Monica stood, and Monica did not ask him about moving on. She asked about disclosure. "Mr. Whitmore," she said, voice calm, "during your divorce proceedings, did you disclose all debts secured by the marital residence?" Grant blinked. "I disclosed the mortgage," he said. Monica nodded. "Just the mortgage?" Grant hesitated half a beat. "I believe so." Monica turned slightly and held up the HELOC statement. "Are you familiar with this line of credit?" Grant's face tightened so fast the mask slipped. "That's business-related," he said. "But it is secured by the house," Monica replied, tone still even. "And it is in both names, correct?" Grant swallowed. "It was an agreed thing," he said, eyes flicking to me like a warning. Monica didn't flinch. "And did you present this debt to the divorce court for allocation?" Grant's jaw worked. "I don't remember," he said. The judge leaned forward. "You don't remember a $180,000 line of credit?" she asked, voice flat. Grant forced a laugh. "Your Honor, it fluctuated. It was part of my business funding." The judge's eyes narrowed. Monica continued. "Mr. Whitmore, did you tell Ms. Bennett you intended to file a partition action immediately after divorce?" "No," he snapped, "because she knew the house would need to be sold eventually." "The decree says otherwise," Monica said, holding up the decree like a receipt. "Exclusive use and possession until the child is 18. Grant's lawyer jumped in, talking fast about equitable division and co-tenancy rights. The judge listened, expression unreadable. Then she looked down at the papers again, and her finger tapped the decree. "Counsel," she said to Grant's attorney, "why is this court being asked to override an occupancy order issued by family court 8 months ago?" Grant's attorney stumbled through an explanation about separate jurisdiction. The judge's gaze lifted to Grant. "Mr. Whitmore," she said, voice sharpened, "partition is an extraordinary remedy when a co-tenant refuses to cooperate, but it is not a substitute for relitigating divorce outcomes. Do you understand that?" Grant's smile twitched. "Yes, Your Honor." "And this line of credit," she added, tapping the statement, "raises serious questions about your disclosure and your motive." Grant's shoulders stiffened. The judge turned to Monica. "Ms. Reyes," she said, "I'm inclined to deny the petition at this time and order mediation regarding refinancing. However, given the new information about the lien," she paused, "I want the full HELOC file. Subpoena it. I want notary logs. I want signatures. And I want to know exactly where those funds went." Grant's face drained of color. The judge's gavel came down. "Petition for partition by sale is stayed pending further investigation," she said. "And Mr. Whitmore, do not contact the minor child regarding this litigation. If I hear otherwise, there will be consequences." Grant's mouth opened like he wanted to argue, but the judge was already looking past him. The hearing ended, and I walked out into the hallway on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. Monica leaned close. "See that?" she whispered. "He thought he was the predator. Now he's the one being watched." Grant stormed past us, eyes blazing. "You think you won?" he hissed at me. "I think you're scared," I said quietly. His nostrils flared. "I'm not scared," he snapped. "You don't even know what you're doing." And then he made a mistake. He leaned close enough that I could smell his cologne, and he whispered, "That HELOC was supposed to be paid off when the house sold. You're ruining everything." Monica's head snapped toward him. "Say that again," she said, voice like ice. Grant froze. He realized too late he'd spoken out loud. He shoved past us and left the building. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was being chased. I felt like the chase had turned. Because now, the court was asking questions. Now, the paper trail mattered. Now, Grant's force of sale wasn't just a threat. It was a spotlight. Over the next month, the escalation wasn't loud. It was surgical. Grant didn't stop. He shifted. He started sending refinance demands through his attorney. He filed a motion in family court to modify the decree, claiming changed circumstances. He sent me an email listing 3 mortgage brokers and a deadline. He even mailed a pre-filled listing agreement to my house. Like if he put it on paper, I'd become obedient. Monica responded to everything with calm, brutal precision. And then the subpoena returns started arriving. First, the HELOC closing package. It was thick, hundreds of pages, and it smelled like a bank's idea of certainty. Monica called me in. When I sat down, she slid a signature page across the table. "Look at this," she said. I stared. The signature line had my name typed beneath it, but the signature, it wasn't mine, not even close. My signature has a loop, a flourish I've done since high school. This signature was jagged, rushed, like someone copying from memory. My stomach dropped. "That's not me," I whispered. Monica nodded once. "I know," she said. "And look here." She flipped to the notary acknowledgement. The notary stamp was from a mobile notary service. The date was a Thursday afternoon, 2 years ago. Monica looked at me. "Where were you on that date?" she asked. My brain scrambled. Thursday afternoon, 2 years ago. I remembered because it was the week Lily had the flu. I remembered leaving work early. I remembered sitting on the couch with Lily, asleep on my shoulder, watching cartoons, while Grant said he had to run an errand. "I was home," I said slowly, "with Lily. She was sick." Monica's eyes narrowed. "And did a notary ever come to your home that day?" "No," I said. Monica exhaled. "Then either the notary committed fraud," she said, "or Grant did." And the notary rubber-stamped it. My hands curled into fists. "So he forged my signature," I said. "It appears so," Monica replied, "and that changes everything. Because now, it wasn't just a civil fight over a house. It was identity fraud. It was a fraudulent lien. It was a document recorded against my property with a forged signature. And Grant had tried to use that fraud as the engine to force a sale. Monica filed an emergency motion the next day. She requested the court invalidate the lien, expunge it, and refer the matter for criminal review. Grant's attorney responded with outrage, calling it baseless and inflammatory. But outrage isn't evidence. Paper is, and paper was finally on my side. The bank, once they realized the signatures didn't match, froze the line of credit. The lender's fraud department called me directly. They asked questions that made my skin crawl. "Ma'am, did you authorize anyone to sign on your behalf? Ma'am, were you present at closing? Ma'am, do you know the notary listed? No, no, no." Every answer was another brick in the wall closing around Grant. When the fraud investigator asked, "Do you suspect your ex-spouse?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes," I said, "I do." And then the pressure came. Not from Grant's texts. He stopped texting. He got smarter. The pressure came from the silence and from the sudden swarm of professionals he tried to send into my life like flying monkeys. A realtor knocked on my door one Saturday, clipboard in hand. "Hi," she said brightly. "I'm here for the valuation." "I didn't request a valuation," I replied, holding the door half closed. She looked confused. Mr. Whitmore scheduled it. He doesn't live here, I said, and he doesn't have permission. Her smile faltered. Oh. Okay, she said, backing away like she'd stepped into a fight she didn't understand. 2 days later, an appraiser called, then a contractor, then a moving company asking about possible relocation dates. It was harassment disguised as logistics. Grant was trying to make the sale feel inevitable, to make me feel like I was the one delaying the inevitable, so I'd cave. But I didn't cave, because now I wasn't just fighting for my house. I was fighting for the truth. And truth is heavy. It hits harder than threats. Monica warned me that Grant would escalate again. Men like him, she said, they don't quit when they're losing. They flip the board. And she was right. The next escalation came in the form of a notice taped to my front door, like something out of a bad movie. Notice of default. My heart slammed against my ribs. I ripped it down and read it, eyes scanning for my name, my loan number, anything. It wasn't from my mortgage company. It was from a trustee service, connected to the HELOC lender, the fraudulent lien, the line of credit that had been frozen, but still existed on paper. Grant was trying to trigger foreclosure proceedings on a lien that might not even be valid to force my hand. Monica was in court that afternoon. She filed for a temporary restraining order to halt any enforcement action tied to the HELOC. The judge granted it, but the fact that it happened at all told me something. Grant wasn't just trying to win. He was trying to burn the house down, so no one could prove he'd tried to steal it. And while all of this was unfolding, Lily was watching. She didn't know every detail, but she saw my late nights at the kitchen table. She saw Monica's business cards stuck to the fridge like a talisman. She heard the low, tense phone calls. One night, she came downstairs after bedtime, hair messy, eyes sleepy, and she stood in the doorway. "Mom," she whispered. I turned, heart aching. "What is it?" She hesitated, then said, "Are we going to have to leave?" I set my pen down slowly. "No," I said, voice firm. "We're not." "But Dad?" "Your dad is trying," I said, choosing words carefully, to control something he shouldn't be controlling. Lily's lip trembled. "Why?" she asked. "Because he can't stand the idea of you and me being okay without him." But I didn't say that. I just pulled her into a hug. "Because some people," I murmured into her hair, "think love means ownership." Lily held on tight, and in that moment, I swore something to myself. Grant could file 100 petitions. He could send appraisers and notices and threats. But he would not teach my daughter that stability is something a man can revoke. He would not teach her that a home is only safe until someone stronger wants it. Not on my watch. The second hearing was set for 6 weeks later, to address the subpoena findings in the stay. Grant's attorney requested continuances, tried to delay, tried to stall. Monica pushed back hard, and when the hearing date finally arrived, the courtroom felt different. It wasn't just about partition anymore. It was about fraud. It was about forged signatures, notary misconduct, lender investigations. Grant sat at the table beside his attorney, jaw clenched, hands folded too tightly. His confidence was gone. He still wore the suit, still tried to look calm, but his knee bounced under the table, just enough for me to see it. The judge opened the hearing by addressing the HELOC. "Mr. Whitmore," she said, "the documents submitted raise a credible issue of forgery." Grant's attorney stood fast, arguing about authentication and premature conclusions. Monica stood, and her voice was steady as stone. "Your Honor," she said, "we have signature exemplars. We have a notary log that does not match Ms. Bennett's whereabouts. We have a lender fraud investigation underway. And we have Mr. Whitmore's own statement in the courthouse hallway, witnessed by counsel, that the HELOC was supposed to be paid off when the house sold." The judge's eyes lifted. "Is that true, Mr. Whitmore?" she asked. Grant's mouth opened, closed. He looked to his attorney like a lifeline. His attorney jumped in with an objection. The judge overruled it. "This is my courtroom," she said. "Answer." Grant swallowed. "I may have said something like that," he muttered. "And why," the judge asked, voice sharpened, "would you expect the house to be sold when the divorce decree explicitly grants exclusive possession to Miss Bennett?" Grant's throat bobbed. "I thought it would change," he said. The judge leaned forward. "On what basis?" Grant's eyes flicked to me, then down. "I filed," he said weakly. "You filed," she repeated, flat. "Yes, you filed. That does not mean you were entitled. It means you attempted." Grant's face flushed. The judge looked at Monica. "Ms. Reyes," she said, "do you want relief beyond dismissal?" Monica didn't hesitate. "Yes, Your Honor," she said. "We request dismissal with prejudice of the partition petition, attorney's fees, and in order to record a notice preventing any further attempt to force a sale while the occupancy provision stands." Grant's attorney sputtered about property rights, but the judge was already turning pages. "Property rights," she said, "do not include the right to weaponize fraudulent liens and destabilize a minor child." She paused. Then her eyes lifted again. "And Mr. Whitmore," she added, "if the lender's fraud investigation confirms forgery, I will refer this matter to the district attorney." The courtroom went quiet. So quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Grant stared forward, and for the first time, he looked small, not because he was sorry, because he finally understood. The law wasn't his crowbar anymore. It was a mirror, and it was reflecting him clearly. The judge issued her ruling. Partition petition dismissed. Stay converted to a protective order, barring any sale action. Attorney's fees awarded to me, and a directive for the lender to expedite the fraud review with full cooperation. When the gavel struck, Grant flinched like it was aimed at him. Outside the courtroom, he tried one last time. He approached me fast, voice low and furious. "You think you're untouchable now?" he hissed. I looked at him, calm. "No," I said. "I think you're accountable." His eyes burned. "You don't even know what you just started," he spat. Monica stepped between us. "Walk away," she told him, voice cold, "before you make it worse." Grant backed off, jaw tight. And as he walked away, I realized something. This wasn't over. Not yet. Because Grant didn't just want the house. He wanted what the house represented. He wanted the last proof that he could still reach into my life and rearrange it. And now, he couldn't. So he would look for a different way, a nastier way. But I was ready. Because now I had something I didn't have before. A paper trail, a judge with patience running out, a fraud investigation with my ex's name on it, and a daughter who needed to see what standing your ground looks like when someone tries to bulldoze your home with a lawsuit. 6 days after the ruling, the bank's fraud investigator called again. "Ms. Bennett," he said, "we need you to come in and sign an affidavit of forgery." My hands tightened around the phone. "Okay," I said. And, he added, "there's something else." "What?" He hesitated. Funds from the HELOC, he said, were dispersed to an entity that appears to be controlled by Mr. Whitmore. I closed my eyes. Of course they were. What entity? I asked. The investigator read the name. It was an LLC, a bland, harmless-sounding name, like a shell. Whitmore Strategic Solutions, LLC, Grant's business. The money had gone straight to him, and now he'd tried to use the forced sale to bury the evidence under closing documents and commissions. But because we stopped the sale, the evidence was still sitting there, unpaid, unhidden, and the more I understood that, the more the fear inside me shifted into something else. Not just anger, not just resolve, a plan. Because if Grant had done this, if he'd forged my signature to open a lien, if he'd tried to force a sale to erase his fraud, then the house wasn't the only thing he could lose. He could lose his license. He could lose his business. He could lose his freedom. And the next part, the part Grant didn't see coming, was that he wasn't just going to be stopped. He was going to be reversed. The affidavit appointment was on a Monday morning, and I took the day off work without telling anyone why. I didn't want sympathy. I didn't want questions. I wanted focus. The bank's fraud department was on the 3rd floor, behind glass doors and a receptionist who didn't smile. The investigator, a man named Ethan, led me into a small conference room and slid papers across the table. "This is your statement," he said. "This is the signature from your driver's license. This is the signature on the HELOC." I stared. The difference was obvious. My signature was smooth, consistent, practiced. The HELOC signature looked like someone trying to imitate me in the dark. Ethan pointed to another page. "And this," he said, "is the mobile notary invoice." My eyes narrowed. Invoice? It listed a service address, not my house, not even close. It was a commercial building across town, a shared office suite, the kind of place you can rent by the hour. I swallowed hard. "So he didn't even try to make it believable," I whispered. Ethan didn't respond. He just slid the affidavit closer. "Sign here," he said. My hand hovered over the pen, because signing that affidavit wasn't just paperwork. It was a door. Once I walked through it, there was no going back to normal. No pretending this was just a bitter divorce. No hoping Grant would eventually get tired and stop. This was me saying, in writing, my ex committed fraud. But then I thought about Lily's face, the tremble in her voice when she asked if we'd have to leave, and I signed. Ethan nodded once, serious. "We'll move quickly," he said. "Given the court's involvement, the lender will likely rescind the lien and pursue recovery." "Recovery from who?" I asked, though I already knew. Ethan's mouth tightened. "From the borrower responsible," he said, "and from any parties involved in the fraudulent closing." I walked out of that building feeling like I'd just strapped a weight to Grant's ankle. A legal weight, a financial weight, the kind you don't wriggle out of with charm. Grant called me that night. Not a text. A call. I watched his name flash across my screen like a warning light. I let it ring. Then he called again, and again. On the 4th call, I answered, not because I wanted to talk, but because I wanted to hear his voice. I wanted to hear how scared he sounded. "Claire," he said immediately, voice tight. "What the hell are you doing?" I stayed calm. "I signed an affidavit," I said. Silence. Then his breath came sharp. "You're accusing me of a crime," he snapped. "I'm stating a fact," I replied. "You're going to ruin my life," he hissed. I almost laughed. He said it like I was the villain, like he hadn't tried to shove me and my daughter out of our home with a forged lien and a partition petition. Grant, I said quietly, you tried to force a sale. I had a right. You forged my signature, I cut in. His voice rose. I didn't forge anything. I've seen the documents, I said. The service address isn't our house. The signature isn't mine. The funds went to your LLC. His breathing got loud, like a man pacing. You don't understand how business works, he said, voice frantic now. That line of credit was for us, for our future. Our future? I repeated. Yes, he insisted, desperation making him sloppy. It was supposed to be temporary. The market was going to climb. We'd sell, we'd pay it off, and we'd be ahead. And when we didn't sell, I said, you decided to force it. Silence again, the kind that tells you you've hit the truth. Then he spoke, softer, almost pleading. Claire, you don't have to do this, he said. We can settle. We can work something out. There it was, the shift from threat to negotiation, from predator to bargain. I leaned back against my kitchen counter and looked out the window at my porch light, glowing warm against the dark. You should talk to your attorney, I said. Claire, he said sharply, panic creeping back. If you push this, they'll come after me. The bank? The court? They should, I said. He made a sound like a growl. You think you're so righteous, he spat. You're not. You're just lucky. Lucky? I repeated. I built things, he snapped. I took risks. You just sat in that house and acted like it was yours. My hand tightened around the phone. It is mine, I said evenly, because I paid. I maintain. I raised our child there while you chased schemes. You're going to regret this, he snarled. I smiled, though he couldn't see it. No, I said. You are. And I hung up. The next escalation came fast, and it was uglier. 2 days later, Lily came home from school with swollen eyes. My chest tightened. What happened? I asked, dropping my purse. She hesitated. Then she handed me her phone, a text from Grant. It wasn't directly threatening. It was manipulative. I'm sorry you're dealing with your mom's anger. I tried to fix things. If she makes us lose the house, remember I tried. My stomach turned. He was putting the weight on Lily. He was trying to turn my daughter into a witness, a weapon, a pressure point. I called Monica immediately. This is violation, Monica said, voice clipped. The judge told him not to discuss litigation with the child. What do I do? I asked. You document it, she replied. Screenshot, date, time. Then we file a motion for contempt. Contempt. A word that felt like a door slamming. But Lily was the one who surprised me. She sat at the table, shoulders rigid, jaw set. And she said, he's lying. I blinked. Lily, he keeps saying stuff like that, she said, eyes shining. Like you're the problem. Like you're doing this to him. I reached for her hand. She gripped mine hard. I don't want to go to his house, she whispered. The words hit me like a punch. Because custody had been 50-50. Because I'd been trying to keep peace. Because I'd been telling myself, it's fine, it's manageable, it's normal. But Lily's voice was shaking. He watches me when I'm on my phone, she said. He asks what you're doing. He asks what Monica says. He asks if you're scared. My throat tightened. And I don't know what to say, she whispered. So I just get quiet. Rage rose in me like heat. Okay, I said softly. We're changing things. Lily's eyes widened. You can do that? I can try, I said. And I will. Because the forced sale had been about the house. But this was about something bigger. Control. Grant didn't just want equity. He wanted access. He wanted leverage. And now he was using my daughter as a lever. Monica filed the contempt motion and an emergency request to modify custody, based on Grant's coercion and the ongoing fraud investigation. Grant's attorney responded by calling it parental alienation, Grant's favorite phrase. As if any child who sees the truth is automatically alienated. The hearing was scheduled quickly because judges do not like children being used as pawns. In the meantime, the lender's fraud department moved faster than I expected. They issued a preliminary determination, signature mismatch, notary irregularity, and suspicious disbursement. They initiated rescission, meaning the lien on my house was about to be removed. But that didn't mean the debt disappeared. It meant the debt shifted. It became Grant's problem, Grant's liability, Grant's hole. And he panicked. He started calling again, leaving voicemails that swung between pleading and rage. Claire, you have no idea what you're doing. Claire, I can make this go away if you just cooperate. Claire, you're going to lose everything when the court sees how unreasonable you are. I didn't respond because something in me had clicked. When a man threatens you while the paperwork says you're protected, he's not powerful. He's desperate. The custody hearing arrived first. Grant walked into family court acting like a wounded father, shoulders slumped, face sad. He brought photos of Lily. He brought a binder. He brought that careful voice he used when he wanted to look responsible. He told the judge he was worried about Lily's emotional health. He said I was spinning narratives. He said I was using financial disputes to punish him. The judge listened, then asked one simple question. Did you text your daughter about litigation? Grant blinked. I was trying to reassure her, he said. By blaming her mother? The judge asked. Grant's mouth tightened. I didn't blame, the judge cut him off. I have the screenshot, she said, holding up the exhibit. This is not reassurance. This is manipulation. Grant's attorney tried to object, overruled. The judge looked at me. Ms. Bennett, she said, what are you requesting? My voice was steady. Temporary primary custody, I said. Supervised visitation until the court resolves the fraud investigation and until he stops involving Lily. Grant's face snapped up. What? He barked, losing his mask. The judge's eyes narrowed. Mr. Whitmore, she said, cold, you will control your tone. Grant swallowed, jaw tight. The judge reviewed Monica's filings, the contempt motion, the bank's preliminary report. Then she leaned back. Mr. Whitmore, she said, you were ordered not to involve the child. You did. You have an ongoing legal dispute involving allegations of fraudulent conduct tied to the child's residence. And you attempted to destabilize that residence through partition litigation. Grant's face went pale. I didn't destabilize, he began. The judge held up a hand. I'm issuing a temporary order, she said. Primary physical custody to Ms. Bennett. Mr. Whitmore will have supervised visits twice a week, pending compliance review. Grant's mouth opened like he couldn't breathe. The gavel hit. And just like that, the power shifted. Not just in my house, in my family. Outside court, Grant came at me like a storm. This is your fault, he spat. Monica stepped in front of me. Say another word, she warned, and we'll add harassment to the record. Grant glared. Then he laughed, sharp and ugly. You think you won? He sneered. You think you're safe? I looked him in the eye. I think Lily is, I said. His face twisted, and then he walked away. And the way he walked told me everything. He wasn't leaving because he was done. He was leaving because he was calculating. The big twist arrived a week later, not in a courtroom, in my mailbox, a certified letter from the county recorder's office, notifying me of a newly recorded document affecting my property. My hands went numb as I tore it open. Notice of lis pendens, a notice of pending legal action filed against the house. Grant had recorded it, meaning, even though the partition petition was dismissed, he was trying to cloud the title. He was trying to make it impossible for me to refinance, impossible to sell if I ever chose, impossible to do anything without him. It was spite, weaponized. I drove to Monica's office with the paper shaking in my hand. Monica read it, jaw tight. "Oh, he's bold," she murmured, "or stupid." "What does it mean?" I asked. "It means he's trying to poison the well," she replied. "But it also means he just ignored the protective order." "He can't do that," I said. "He can file it," Monica replied, "but we can move to expunge it, and we can request sanctions." She leaned forward, eyes sharp. "And Claire, we're done playing defense." I blinked. Monica pulled another file from her desk. It was a civil complaint. My name as plaintiff, Grant as defendant, claims listed like a cascade: fraud, forgery, slander of title, intentional infliction of emotional distress, abuse of process. And then, the line that made my breath catch: treble damages, pursuant to state consumer protection and fraudulent conveyance statutes. Treble, triple. "Monica," I whispered, "what is this?" "This," she said, "is how you stop him from filing new tricks every month. You hit him where it hurts." "Money," I said. "Money," she confirmed. "And credibility, and licensing." I stared at the complaint. "Can we win?" I asked. Monica's smile was small but hard. "We already have the forged signature," she said. "We have the lender's rescission. We have his own admissions. And now we have his lis pendens attempt after a protective order." She tapped the file. "This is no longer messy divorce. This is documented misconduct." My heart pounded. "So we sue him," I said. "Yes," Monica replied. "And we request a temporary injunction preventing him from recording anything further. We request expungement. We request fees. We request damages." "And the house?" I asked, voice tight. "The house stays," Monica said. "And if he keeps playing games, the court can award you quiet title." Quiet title, a phrase that felt like sunlight, a way to cut the string, a way to make the house mine, without his shadow. We filed. Grant's reaction was immediate. He sent his attorney a frantic letter. His attorney sent Monica a settlement offer. It wasn't an offer. It was a threat dressed up as compromise. Grant would withdraw all claims if I agreed to sell within 12 months and split proceeds. Monica laughed when she read it. "No," she said simply. Then she countered. Grant would sign a quitclaim deed, relinquishing all interest immediately. Grant would pay my attorney's fees. Grant would accept sole liability for the HELOC debt and reimburse any credit harm. Grant would agree to a permanent no-contact provision regarding property issues except through counsel. And Grant would sign a stipulated judgment allowing enforcement if he violated. Grant's attorney responded with outrage, then silence. Because silence is what happens when a bully realizes the other side has receipts. 2 weeks later, the lender made it official. They recorded a release of Leanne. The fraudulent HELOC was expunged from my property record. But the lender didn't just shrug and move on. They demanded repayment from the party responsible. Grant. And because the funds had gone into his LLC, the lender froze his business accounts. I found out from an email Grant accidentally forwarded to me when he was scrambling, an email from his bookkeeper with the subject line, "Accounts frozen. Call me ASAP." I sat in my kitchen staring at it, stunned. Grant had tried to force a sale to wipe his debt. Now his debt was strangling his business. Power reversal doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with a quiet click of a bank lock. Grant tried to fight back. He filed a motion claiming the lender's actions were retaliatory. Denied. He tried to claim I was interfering with his livelihood. The judge wasn't amused. And then the final hearing arrived, the one that combined everything: the expungement motion, the sanctions request, the civil complaint status, the lis pendens, the fraud findings. Grant looked different that day. Not polished, not glowing. He still wore a suit, but it hung looser. His eyes were red-rimmed. His hands kept rubbing together like he was trying to warm them. The judge opened with the lis pendens. "Mr. Whitmore," she said, "you recorded a notice against the property after this court stayed your partition action and issued protective orders. Explain." Grant's attorney tried to argue clerical misunderstanding. The judge didn't buy it. Then Monica presented the lender's release of lien. "Your Honor," she said, "the lender has rescinded. The lien was fraudulent. Ms. Bennett's signature was forged, and Mr. Whitmore attempted to use that lien to force a sale and to capture equity for his own benefit." The judge's eyes narrowed. "Mr. Whitmore," she said, "do you deny forging her signature?" Grant's mouth opened. His attorney leaned toward him fast. Grant swallowed. I didn't think," he started. The judge's voice cut like a blade. "This is not about what you thought," she said. "This is about what you did." Grant's shoulders sagged. And then he did the thing men like Grant do when they realize the room won't bend for them anymore. He tried to blame me. "She wouldn't cooperate," he said suddenly, voice rising. "She wouldn't refinance. She wouldn't help. I was trapped." The judge stared at him. "Trapped," she repeated. Grant nodded, desperate now. "Yes," he insisted. "My name was on things. I couldn't move. I couldn't." The judge leaned forward. "And your solution," she said slowly, "was to forge her signature, record a lien, hide the debt and divorce, and then file partition to force a sale while intimidating the child?" Grant's face drained. When the judge said it out loud like that, it sounded like exactly what it was: a scheme, a plan, a crime. The judge looked down at her notes. Then she looked at Monica. "Ms. Reyes," she said, "your motion to expunge the lis pendens is granted. Sanctions are granted. Attorney's fees granted." Grant's attorney started to protest. The judge held up a hand. "And," she added, eyes fixed on Grant, "I am referring this matter to the appropriate authorities for review of potential criminal conduct." Grant's body jerked like he'd been slapped. "Your Honor," his attorney began. "Enough," the judge said, voice final. "This court will not be used as a tool for fraud." The gavel came down, and I exhaled, long, shaking, like my lungs had been holding air for months. Outside the courtroom, Grant didn't approach me. He couldn't. His attorney guided him away, like a man walking someone out of a burning building. Monica turned to me and spoke quietly. "We're not done," she said. "Now we finish the civil case." Grant's attorney called 3 days later. They wanted to settle, not talk, settle. They offered what Grant should have offered months ago, if he'd been capable of humility. Quitclaim deed, full relinquishment of interest, payment of attorney's fees, a structured repayment plan tied to the lender's recovery, a stipulated restraining order about property harassment, and a lump sum for damages. Monica asked me, "What do you want?" I thought about Lily, about her soccer field, about the porch swing, about the maple tree, about my signature, my name, my identity, being treated like something Grant could copy and use. "I want him off the house forever," I said. "And I want Lily protected," I added. "Legally," Monica nodded. "We can do that," she said. The settlement conference was held in a small room with beige walls and stale coffee. Grant sat across from me, not looking at my face. His hands were raw at the knuckles, like he'd been scrubbing them. When the final paperwork was slid across the table, he hesitated. His attorney whispered urgently. Grant picked up the pen. He stared at the quitclaim deed, at the words that would erase his grip. He glanced up at me for the first time, eyes glossy with something that wasn't remorse. It was grief, not for what he did, for what he lost. "You're really doing this," he muttered. I met his eyes. "You did this?" I said. His jaw tightened. He signed, ink on paper, a simple motion, a massive shift. When he slid the deed back, I felt something loosen inside me, like a knot finally untied. Monica filed it immediately. The county recorded it within days. And when the official copy arrived, stamped, dated, final, I stood at my kitchen counter and traced the recorder's seal with my fingertip. Grant's name, gone. Mine, alone. Quiet title wasn't even necessary, because the quitclaim did what it was meant to do. It ended his claim, ended his leverage, ended the constant fear that my home could be ripped away with the right trick. That night, Lily and I sat on the porch swing together. The air was cool. The porch light made the wood glow warm. Lily leaned her head against my shoulder like she used to when she was little. "Is it over?" she asked softly. I looked out at the yard, at the maple tree, at the house that had seen me cry and work and fight and survive. "It's over," I said. Lily exhaled, and then she whispered something I'll never forget. "I'm glad you didn't let him make you small," she said. My throat tightened. "I almost did," I admitted, "at the beginning." "But you didn't," she said firmly. I kissed the top of her head. "No," I whispered, "I didn't." Because here's the truth Grant never understood. A forced sale isn't just about money. It's about pushing someone until they feel like the easiest path is surrender. It's about making fear do the work for you. But fear stops working the second you start collecting evidence. The second you start standing in court with paper in your hand and truth in your voice. The second you realize the law can be a crowbar, or it can be a lock. And once it locks, a man like Grant can kick the door all he wants. All he'll do is break his own foot. Months later, I got a final update from Monica. The district attorney's office had opened a review. The lender had filed its own civil recovery action against Grant's LLC, and Grant's real estate licensing board had received a complaint because fraudulent conduct tied to property isn't personal, it's professional, it's disqualifying. I didn't celebrate, not loudly, because I didn't need revenge. I needed safety. I needed stability. I needed my daughter to grow up knowing that when someone tries to steal your life with paperwork, you don't have to fold. You can fight. You can document. You can demand accountability. And you can win. Not by becoming cruel, but by becoming unmovable. Because the house was never just a house. It was proof. that I could build something and keep it even when someone who once promised to love me tried to take it apart piece by piece. Grant tried to force a sale, but what he actually forced was a reckoning. And in the end, the only thing that got liquidated was his illusion of control.